Hey, good afternoon. This is Lee Iben with ActionCOACH Campus, and my guests today are Heather and Marcus Fedler with Custom Impressions right here in Washington, Iowa. So it's great to have you both with us today. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks for including us in on this.
This is great. So tell us a little bit about Custom Impressions.
You know, Custom Impressions actually has a pretty long history. We do many different things. Basically, we're a customization shop. So we basically have 7 categories of products and services. Not really listed in any particular order, but we do screen printing, embroidery, self-inking stamps, signs, vinyl graphics, paper printing, promotional products, and then trophies and awards.
That's the whole gamut, Heather.
It is. And basically our purpose is to help people promote businesses, fundraisers, family reunions, anything. There's really not much that we don't do. We have clients all over the United States. However, our main client base is the southeast quadrant of Iowa all the way to the Mississippi River. And we deliver to our clients for free. On Thursdays, we kind of have a route and we deliver to these long distance clients. We have a staff of about 8 people on average, 5 being full-time status and 3 being part-time status.
That's great. And how long have you guys had the business?
So we've owned the business for 17 years. The business was originally named Rubber Stamps R Us, and was started many years ago by a local resident, Dave Stouffer. And the business at that time was only self-inking stamps, trophies, and awards. He eventually sold to a former local resident, Vicki Ricks. And at the time, the business was on the northeast side of the square of Washington here in town. At that time, we bought the business from her. Gross sales were averaging about $85,000 annually, and they were stagnant.
Okay. Wow. So, so you've taken it, you've had 17 years, you've added more products and services. So who would you say is your primary customers, your target audience?
Well, you know, it really has grown. We purchased the business in 2003. And so my husband quit his career as a construction engineer, and then I came in being a stay-at-home mom for 3 years. And the business was not sustaining 2 incomes. So I left and had a career outside of the business for about 14 years, but stayed in touch, making major financial decisions with my husband. And then he was the sole employee for quite a long time. We immediately started looking at diversifying our products and services and renamed the business Custom Impressions to better reflect all of the new stuff that we have. So I, about 2 years ago, quit my career outside of the business and came in full time. And so we immediately started looking at how can we make this business, get it out of its stagnated state. And so with Marcus's knowledge as a construction engineer, he had the ability to look at the best products that made sense to add to our business through budgeting and what was the return on the investment that we were considering. So we expanded services by having a mantra of always saying yes and then figuring out how to make it happen. And so that's been a great way that we have grown our business. We've made a lot of equipment purchases over the years to keep up on the qualities and efficiencies. We added cap-cut vinyl graphic signs in 2005. In 2007, we acquired a printing business that had been around for 25 years in Ainsworth. Wow. Okay. And we kept that screen printing business over there. But then in 2009, we consolidated that screen printing business in another larger building on the north side of the square that consisted of about 3,000 square feet. We also bought out a partnering embroidery business in Danville. So we had a second location. But we since closed that location, but we were able to maintain our client base, and we invested in 2 6-head embroidery machines. Over that 17-year period, we've had gross sales as high as $800,000 annually.
Wow.
So we had to move the business a 4th time in the building that we're in right now, which is now 10,000 square feet. And has a lot of amenities that we didn't have before that have helped us with those efficiencies.
And Heather, for those who don't know, you're on the west side of town now, right?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, we are just west of the brand new YMCA.
Yes.
Up here in Northern Washington. Custom Impressions received the Best Business Improvement Success Award in 2008 by our local Main Street organization. That's an annual Washington Business Partnership dinner that we have every year, which consists of our local wedge, our Main Street program, and chamber. And actually, a little funny story about that. We made the plaques for all the awards that were given out at this dinner. And I knew that we were going to be getting the award, but I was keeping it a secret from Marcus. So like an hour before the dinner, I snuck into our business and engraved the plaque for us. And then, so it was a great surprise for him. And then Custom Impressions was also recognized as one of the fastest growing companies by the Corridor Business Journal in May of 2015. With a growth of 49.2%.
Wow.
We were number 20 from the top of the list. Marcus was also a nominee for the Corridor's 40 Under 40 recognition.
Good.
And then a little known fact locally is that in our industry for marking with the self-inking stamps, we were on the cover and named Silver Manufacturer of the Year for Marking Industry Magazine in 2007, 2008, 2011, and 2014.
Wow, congratulations.
So through all of that, we've learned who our target audience really needs to be. And so we've learned that our target market really are businesses and large events like sports tournaments, schools, county fairs. So we also added the option of online stores.
Okay.
So the great thing is that these organizations can actually register an online store on our website, shirtstamp.com, and then they do not have to handle ordering garments, getting money from their employees, delivering to their employees. We take all of that responsibility off their shoulders, and they've embraced it. So that technology-wise has been great for our target audience. We even ship to clients if they don't want to pick it up, or their order from the online store is just not within a convenient driving distance.
Right.
So we really tried to turn ourselves into a one-stop shop for all products and services that companies and organizations need.
Now, Heather, you brought up a good point. So most of your customers are businesses, right? And large groups like sporting clubs and teams. So that segues right into our next question then. What was your greatest impact with COVID-19 on your business?
So the most devastating impact was having to lay off our entire staff other than Marcus. So Marcus has solely been trying to manage all of our business categories. What we are missing is that the companies and annual events such as the county fairs, the company picnics, they've canceled all of those events. And so we're running at about a 50% reduction in gross sales right now.
Okay.
Summer is our busiest time of year with the county fairs, with the sporting events, with the summer sports, and many of those events have been canceled, so those sales have just evaporated.
and that typically in April, starting around March 15th or so, sales start increasing.
Okay.
You know, January, February, March is typically our slowest time of the year. And March, it starts picking up. So to give you an example, I just got a report from one of our vendors. We sold in April of last year, we sold 2,500 pieces. So 2,500 pieces of garment. This year we sold 292.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, that's, and screen printing now drives our business. So it's more than half of our business. And so when you see that type of reduction, now we did sell 50%. So it's not like a straight line, you know, equation, but a lot of that came from internal stuff that we've always done, like stamps. And that's a business we've had for 25 years, obviously, or not, we haven't had it, but it's been around that long.
Right.
And so when we saw those types of reductions in April, then that led into May, which was a similar situation where last year we sold well over 3,000 pieces and then we sold like 600 in May, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
right.
it's, you know, that just really just trashes our sales.
Oh, sure.
And well, and labor. I mean, you know, you can't justify having folks sitting around for 290 shirts when we could do 3,000 in the same period of time.
Right.
So,
right. And that's been probably the biggest change.
It was a big hit.
Yeah, that is a very big hit. So hopefully we're beginning to emerge from COVID-19, and we're kind of talking about scalability and how we scale down, but then how we scale back up. So what are some changes that you're making now to hopefully prepare for what we hope to be coming out of COVID-19?
Sure. So we've kept our shop open over this entire period of shutdowns. We've worked late on weekends to meet our clients' needs. We didn't have a choice to close, and we needed to be there for our clients who also were not closing. So we've called our clients, we've visited them personally to keep in touch, and they're in the same boat that we are.
A lot of them.
So we've actually had business created out of COVID-19 with organizations wanting COVID-themed products for fundraisers or for employees, most of it comic relief.
Right.
Also, being a company that strives to be the best experience that a person has had that day, regardless of the stress that we're under, because they're under the same stress as well. We try to be flexible. We meet our clients outside of normal business hours to accommodate their schedule if it is all possible. It may not make the sale at that moment, but they'll remember it. And so we're maintaining relationships. We're building new relationships. It'll come back in future business and also get us referrals. And we thank them for their business in person as well as sending thank you cards. It's had a positive impact on a lot of our relationships.
That's great. So this is an interesting question. It says that smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. I love that quote. So what mistakes have you guys made over the past 17 years that you can help future business owners avoid?
Yeah, that was a hard question to really consider. You know, we've always had a business continuation plan, expecting that what if things really started falling apart. But even with the best plan, COVID has proven difficult in really being prepared. I think the biggest long-term mistake that we've made is not staying on top of our delinquent accounts. If we had those accounts would be quite valuable if we had those payments, had them on the books, closed the accounts. But one thing we were not prepared for, and I don't think in any business continuation plan you can be prepared for, is the stress. We are a business that's deadline and detail driven. The stress of COVID has causes loss of focus and efficiency. Working without a full staff has stressed our family because our whole family, our two sons, also work here for income. We have brought back 2 employees to work, and we're finding that they're under stress. with the things that they're having to change with their lives. Like, are their kids starting school? How do we, can we be flexible with them and their hours? And them being under stress has caused our level of performance to drop. And it's not just them, it's us as well, because we're detail and deadline driven, and the devil's in the details. So if you miss those details, then it leads to mistakes in jobs, or large orders being done incorrectly. All we've done with our clients is we've apologized if that's happened. We've made it right. It's caused a less profitable period. But for advice, perhaps for other entrepreneurs, being knowledgeable with the people that are in your same industry, keeping up with possible competitors in your local area, seeing what they're doing, trying to be better than that. Know and understand the cost of doing business. That's something where we look at our numbers every day, and then we compare them to last year to see, as Marcus had mentioned before, so that we understand where are we suffering the most. Look at your financials every day. We do this through QuickBooks Online. It's a great way to analyze and get charts and graphics and do a lot of searching. Also, I think good advice is to have a great relationship with your financial institution. When COVID hit, we bank with a local bank called Federation Bank. And Jamie Collier, one of the presidents, he actually called us personally and asked us how business was going. And he helped walk us through the programs that were available to us, like the PPP program, what it meant for us long-term, what it meant for them as a financial institution long-term. So definitely having a great relationship with a financial institution. The other thing is that we were lucky enough that we already had, and that's a great relationship with your accountant that stays educated on the economy and what it means for us to take part in some of these COVID-related financial programs that we've been eligible for. Your accountant can also make sure that your business is categorized correctly as an S corporation, a C corporation, an LLC, or a partnership. And the reason why I highlight that is because several businesses that I've talked to were not eligible for the programs because they were either sole proprietors, contract employees, or gig workers.
Heather, I want to touch on something that you mentioned. And I run across this with other business owners. Not every business owner likes to look at their numbers because they're afraid of what they might see. They're not sure how they stand up against last year. So just touch on that again, on the importance of that. What would you say to them?
That should be the number one focus. If you do not know what your costs are, to turn on the lights, open the doors, pay the staff, and then on top of it, understand, okay, trophy components cost this much, but then there's also labor costs that go along with that, and we want to make a profit on that. If a person is not focusing on their financials, they long-term will not be in business long-term.
And I would just add to that, one of the best reports that anybody can do for their business is take the total sales and then divide expenses as a percent of total sales. So cost and separate your income statement, if you want to look at it like that, into three different categories. There's cost of goods sold is one, which is everything associated with that. Be the goods you buy, how much freight was to get it in, any incidental stuff or indirect costs or associated with that. That's all cost of goods sold. And then the next breakdown would be fixed costs. Anything that is fixed completely. It's always fixed. And then the last one is labor. And so if you have your income statement by sales and then cost of goods sold, and then there's a fixed portion that's in the middle of that, and then at the end, that's how I put it, the labor costs. And then the report that I run constantly is percent of sales. So if your cost of goods is 45% and your labor is 25%, and that's my numbers, and your fixed expenses are fixed. So that percentage can change. And the thing that sucks about that is that if your sales come down, your fixed costs don't change. Now, you might have a better cost of goods sold, and you might have a better labor rate or a higher labor rate even when your sales come down. Depends on how you manage that, if you get rid of labor or lay people off or so on. But your fixed costs won't. So sometimes those fixed costs become the driving force. I got to sell at least $45,000 in a month in order to break even, and that's my number. Okay, there's some other numbers out there, and that's based on a certain amount of labor as well. So so labor is a little bit flexible. It can be. Cost of goods probably isn't, or not really. It's always a percentage of sales, or at least it should be. And then figure out what your numbers are, and then determine that report, and then you can just plug numbers into it. Okay, I sell 100,000 this month. How many people do I need? How much, how many goods are sold? 45% of that. So I'm going to have 45,000 in goods sold, most likely. I'm going to have 25% of labor, most likely. So that's 25,000. The fixed costs, say they're fixed at 220 or 240,000, make the numbers easy. So that's 20,000 a month. And then I can determine what my profit is. And so profit is always a fixed. For us, it's been a kind of a roller coaster. Just because of sales, but in general, it should be 7 to 10% in our business. And so with those fixed costs and those percentages, you're able to determine your top line number and what you have to sell in order to make the profit you want to make.
That's right.
The one thing that I would add to that too is, if we see a big difference, let's say COVID was not an issue right now, and we are starting to see a big difference, like May this year, it seems like we're not on track compared to May of last year. Was there an anomaly?
Right.
And so what we find is there was a one-time event held May last year that will never happen again, and it might have been a $2,000 order. If you're in tune to that type of stuff, then okay, that was an anomaly, and so then we either have to make up for it or really start to look for businesses to try to overcome that and see if we can make May the same or better than last May.
That's so true, Heather. And the other thing, back to Marcus's point, you guys have diversified your business over the years by adding in the other various areas. And once you understand how to figure out that profit margin, how to figure out those numbers, that helps your forecasting better. Exactly. But once you know how to work that, you can start to add in other areas and see if it's going to be a profitable entity within your business type.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we did almost right from the beginning was we separated the things that Heather talked about at the beginning, screen printing, embroidery, and all that stuff, vinyl signs and trophies and awards and plaques. And we separated that. And in QuickBooks, you can do that by class. And so you separate each one of those sales by class, and then you can determine, okay, my margin on promotional items is a lot different than my margin on trophies and awards. My margin on screen printing is a lot different than my margin on embroidery, and so we try to make those adjustments. Now, overall, when it comes back to it, the big sheet where all that stuff is combined, it still is a percent of sales. It still is a percent for labor. It still is all those things, and so you still have a fixed number. And so then you can plug it in and say, okay, if I sell another $50,000 in screen printing, what's my bottom line going to do? And can I do it with the labor I have now? Right. And then you can start making those educated decisions about where you're going and how you're going to grow, and where you want to grow, and where do you buy that new piece of equipment to maybe enhance that production, enhance that capability. Like when we bought our automatic, that was one of the things that we were looking at. We should have bought it 5 years ago, but it didn't exist 5 years ago. Thank God. It was one of those things. It was like, it was just on the market. It's exactly what I wanted. And so that was one of that's, I don't see any other way to run a business, quite honestly. If you don't know those things, you have no business running a business. Well, it's not that you're going to fail. It's just that you won't know if you'll succeed. And that's the most important thing, is you got to know you're going to succeed. And if the top number stays at a certain level and the cost of goods are the same and the margin or the labor is the same and your fixed costs don't change much, then you should know what that number is. And all you got to do is sell to it, just push sales in certain areas. If I sell another $1,000 and I break even, if I sell another $2,000 and make a little more money, those types of things you have to know. It's absolutely imperative that you know those things.
I love that. Sell to it. That's a great take on that. I've worked with business owners in the past who, it's like going around the Monopoly board again and again and again, but never improving their knowledge base. And they wonder why they're struggling every year. And it's exactly like you said, they don't track their numbers. They don't know the score. So you're spot on. All right.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. You know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know, right?
That's right.
So true. I've got your email address. I've got your website. And then is there anything else that you want to add to this? Is like a special offer or something that you want me to put on the end of this?
What we've done is one of the things that we've been putting different types of fun products on our own online store that are COVID related. We have a toilet paper shirt that has a graphic where you can cut it up into little pieces. Just offering those types of things. It's low cost to us. And we produce it when somebody makes the order online. We're currently offering a free chenille name for students that want to order their letter jackets. That saves them $40. And then their jacket will be in by the time it gets cold. We have other people in the community who are using us as online stores for fundraisers. And an example of that would be, we have a new homeless shelter called the Lighthouse, and they developed designs of decals that say essential worker on them, and then it shows a farmer or it shows a nurse. And so people can go on that website, our website, surestamp.com, purchase those decals for themselves, and then the profit from that we give to the Lighthouse. So being involved in the community in those types of offerings as well during this pandemic.
So important. All right, Heather, Marcus, what's been most inspiring for you guys today?
We're inspired every day really by our clients being patient with us during this time, sharing grace if we've made a mistake on an order. I spoke to a young man that I've known for a few years who came in yesterday to pick up his order. He was picking up some koozies. His name is Seth Live. He owns a trucking company. And he called me just a little bit after he had picked up his order, and there was a missing part detail of the order. And so he's like, okay, just tell me, did you guys make the mistake, or did the people that sent you the product make a mistake? He said, it's not a big deal. And I called him back when I realized that we had made the mistake. And his response to me was, don't worry about it. We are all healing. The other scenario that gives me inspiration, or gives us inspiration, is Amy Green. She's a young woman, mother, family, and she works at the Washington County Iowa State Extension. And she's under a lot of stress with all the 4-H programs and the Washington County Fair coming up. And she recently lost her mom, Nancy Adrian, who was a pillar of the community and was instrumental in the running of our Iowa State Extension. So Amy is heading all of this summer's county fair and 4-H programs without her mom. And she called us yesterday. We realized based on her phone call, we had made a honestly sizable mistake. And she treated us with such grace and patience, knowing that we were going to make it right. And we know she's under a lot of stress too. So really, we're seeing our clients be patient with us, and we're patient with them.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And you said that earlier on today too. I think one of the biggest things is what business owners and customers have to understand is communication. It just takes communicate. If we make a mistake, we own up to it, right? It's living above the point, right? We take responsibility for our actions, and we just communicate with people.
Yes.
When your banker called you up, I mean, what a great thing, right?
Yeah. And the other thing is that, a lot of things we send out a proof to our clients so that they can preview it. They are supposed to check the spelling and all of that. Mm-hmm. And what we've learned is they look at the big picture. They don't look at the details. Right. And so even though we've sent them the proof and they've approved it, perhaps it gets missed. So even though one could easily justify that it's the client's responsibility, we're not worried about that. We're still going to make it right, even if it's something that they didn't notice, or they made the mistake on, or they're giving us short notice. So even when it's not our mistake, we try to treat them the best as possible and better than anybody else.
Yeah. Well, and that's a testament to why you've been in business for 17 years, because you guys take care of your customers. That's fantastic. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording. Don't go away yet. I'm going to just pause this for a